The saloon in Copper Ridge smelled of whiskey, tobacco smoke, and desperation. Jack Rutherford nursed his third glass of rye whiskey, the bitter liquid doing little to numb the ache in his chest or the emptiness that had consumed him for 2 long years. His weathered hands, callous from a lifetime of ranch work, wrapped around the glass as his gray eyes stared into the amber depths. 42 years old, alone, and tired. That's what he'd become. The evening crowd was thin. A few prospectors huddled in the corner, talking in hushed tones about a silver strike up north. 2 card players sat near the window, rain streaking the glass behind them. But Jack's attention snapped to the back corner when Sheriff Coleman entered, dragging a woman by the arm. She was Chinese, no more than 25, with delicate features and eyes that held a strange mixture of fear and resignation. Her silk dress was torn at the hem, and her long black hair hung in a loose braid down her back. Behind them came Big Tom Carver, a slavering prospector with a reputation for cruelty that stretched across 3 territories. $15 for the lot, Carver was saying, his voice thick with drink. That's all I got left after the cards. She's a good worker, strong back, worth more, but she's got no papers, no claim, Coleman interrupted, keeping his law-steady voice neutral. Can't exactly protect her status. So if anyone's interested in taking responsibility for her, it's got to be fair. Jack found himself standing before he'd made a conscious decision to move. Something about the way she held herself, spine straight despite her circumstances, chin lifted despite her chains, reminded him of his late wife, Sarah. That same quiet dignity in the face of the world's cruelty. $20, he heard himself say. The woman's eyes met his for the first time, and Jack felt something crack open inside his chest. Within 20 minutes, he'd paid the sheriff, signed a paper confirming he'd taken responsibility for her welfare, and led her out into the cool desert night. The rain had stopped, leaving the earth smelling of sage and moisture. Stars pierced the darkness like diamonds scattered across black velvet. "What's your name?" he asked as they walked toward the stable where his horse waited. She was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her English was careful, each word deliberately pronounced. "I am called Mylin. But perhaps you wish to give me a new name? Is that not the custom?" Jack glanced at her. "No, Mylin's your name. I see no reason to change it." Something flickered across her face. Surprise, perhaps, or the ghost of hope. The ride to his ranch took 2 hours. Mylin sat before him on the horse, and Jack was acutely aware of her presence, the warmth of her back against his chest, the faint scent of jasmine that clung to her despite everything. His ranch sprawled across 50 acres of desert scrubland outside of town, a modest but sturdy cabin surrounded by weathered fencing and a large red barn. It wasn't much, but it was honest work, and it had kept him alive. "You will work in exchange for your keep," he said carefully as he helped her down from the horse. "There's cooking, cleaning, mending. But you will be safe here." Mylin looked at the cabin, then back at him. "And after, when you tire of me, as men do." The bluntness of the question struck him. "I won't tire of you. That's not why you're here." She studied his face in the starlight, and Jack felt stripped bare by her gaze. "You are different from the others," she said finally. "But men are men. They all want the same things." Jack turned away, opening the cabin door. "Get some rest. We'll sort everything else out tomorrow." 2 months passed. Mylin proved to be as skilled with a knife in the kitchen as she was with a needle and thread. She mended his shirts, cleaned the cabin with meticulous care, and cooked food that reminded him of the better times in his life. But more than that, she began to fill the silence. She asked him questions about his past, his ranch, his dreams. She sang to herself while she worked. Strange, haunting melodies in her native tongue. Jack found himself waiting for her voice each morning. He started coming in from the range early, telling himself it was to help with the heavier chores, but knowing it was a lie. He wanted to be near her. One evening, as they sat on the cabin's porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of crimson and gold, Mylin spoke. "I had a husband," she said quietly, "in China. We were to be married when the gold rush brought Chinese workers to California. He sent money for my passage. I came alone because my family was poor, and this was our hope." Jack remained silent, letting her continue. "But when I arrived in San Francisco, There was no one to meet me. The merchant who arranged my passage, he said my husband had died in a mining accident. He said I owed him for the journey, the housing, everything. He said I would work it off. Her voice grew thin. I worked for 5 years. In the houses, with many men. The words landed like stones in still water. Jack felt rage and sorrow churn inside him. Then I was sold to Carver as a laborer, which was better, but still a cage. She turned to look at him. When you bought me, I thought, here's another cage, perhaps with a prettier face on it. But you are different. You do not demand anything of me. No, Jack said firmly. I don't. This confuses me, Mai Lin continued, a small smile crossing her lips. Why would a man pay for a woman and ask nothing in return? Jack took a long breath. Because you deserve better. Because what happened to you was wrong. Because... He paused, struggling with words that felt clumsy and inadequate. Because I lost someone I loved, and I wouldn't wish that kind of pain on anyone. I bought you to give you a choice. A chance to breathe. Mai Lin was quiet for a long time. Then she reached over and placed her small hand over his. It was the first time she touched him deliberately, and it burned like fire. You have a good heart, Jack Rutherford. Perhaps the best I have known. The following week brought trouble. 3 riders approached the ranch in the late afternoon. Carver and 2 men Jack didn't recognize. Jack was mending a section of fence when they rode up, dust billowing behind them. I'm taking her back, Carver announced, his jaw tight. She belonged to me, and you stole her with your charity money. She's mine to sell or work as I see fit. Jack straightened, fixing the man with a cold stare. She's not property, Carver. The sheriff confirmed it. The sheriff's in town, one of Carver's men said, spitting into the dust. And there's 3 of us. Jack heard the cabin door open behind him. Mai Lin stepped out onto the porch, and in her hands was his rifle, loaded and steady. She was trembling, but her aim was true. You will leave, she said, her voice clear despite her fear. You will leave now, or I will shoot you. I have nothing more to lose. You cannot threaten me with a life worse than the one I have lived. Carver's face purpled with rage, but he saw the determination in her eyes. He saw that she meant it. With a curse, he wheeled his horse around. This ain't over, Rutherford. There's laws about harboring. Get out, Jack said quietly. They rode away in a cloud of dust. Jack climbed the porch steps slowly. Mai Lin lowered a rifle, and her hand began to shake so violently she nearly dropped it. Jack took the weapon and set it aside, then pulled her into his arms. She collapsed against him, and he felt hot tears dampening his shirt. I would have let him take me, she whispered, rather than see him hurt you. Jack pulled back just enough to look at her face. Then I'm grateful you're braver than that. And stronger. I am not strong, she said. I am only desperate. For the first time, I have something worth protecting. Jack understood then that somewhere along the line, this arrangement had transformed entirely. This was no longer charity. This was love in its purest, most terrifying form. That night, they lay together in his bed, and for the first time since losing Sarah, Jack felt whole. Not because of anything physical, though that was part of it, but because Mai Lin looked at him not as a savior or a master, but as a man. She saw his loneliness, his grief, his capacity to love, and she offered him the same in return. The next morning, Jack woke early, as he always did, but something was different. The space beside him was empty and cold. His heart seized in his chest. He rose quickly and found a note on the kitchen table, written in careful English. Dear Jack, I have left for San Francisco. I had to. Do not come after me. You saved my life when you bought me for $20. You gave me safety and kindness when I had known only cruelty. But I realized last night that I do not know who Mai Lin is when she is not running from something. I need to find her. I need to become free not because a man saved me, but because I saved myself. I will return when I am whole. If you can wait for me, if you can believe in a future where I choose to be with you, not because I am own or obligated, but because I love you as a woman, not as a woman who has been broken, then perhaps we have a story worth telling. With love and gratitude, Mai Lin. Jack read the letter 3 times, and each time He felt the same sharp pain and the same overwhelming certainty that she was right. She deserved that journey. She deserved to claim herself. He folded the letter carefully and placed it over his heart. 1 year later, on a warm summer evening, a woman stepped off the stagecoach in Copper Ridge. She wore a simple but elegant dress of deep blue, and her long hair was pinned up in sophisticated style that spoke of a city education. But her face was the same, strong, beautiful, and alive with purpose. Jack was waiting on the boardwalk, his heart thundering in his chest. "Hello," Mai Lin said, and her smile was radiant. "I am Mai Lin Chen. I own a dress shop in San Francisco, and I teach other Chinese women English and business. I am no longer broken. I am no longer running." Jack stepped toward her. "I'm Jack Rutherford. I'm a rancher, and I'm still waiting if you'll have me." "I will have you," she said, taking his hands. "Not because you saved me, but because I chose to save myself, and in doing so, I chose you. There's a difference." They walked together through the dusty streets of Copper Ridge as the sun set, painting the sky in shade of amber and rose. Behind them, the desert stretched endlessly, vast and untamed. Ahead of them lay a future they would build together, not as owner and owned, not as savior and saved, but as two broken people who had found wholeness in each other's love. The rancher and the Chinese woman had bought their freedom with something far more valuable than $20. They had paid the price of their souls, and in doing so had found grace,